Welcome to the AC 24/7 Top Story Countdown. We'll guide you through the biggest news of the day. Our focus, advocating our rights, advocating health, and advocating Earth. Here's our pick for number 4.
Ground combat in a place reduced to a wasteland by months of relentless fighting. Ukrainian forces released this video saying it shows their troops advancing near Bakhmut on the Eastern Front. They're coming, cover me, the soldier says, as machine gun fire rings out and later mortars rain down. The Ukrainians say their gains here are small but important, firing heavy weapons at the Russians, including rocket barrages from combat helicopters. Kyiv trying to show they have the upper hand, a presidential advisor tells me. Let's not forget that we're talking about the army that everyone was afraid of only yesterday, he says. Today we're talking about a Ukrainian offensive in different directions. The Russians eager to show they are holding on. Russian state media releasing this video of Putin's soldiers in the ruins of Bakhmut, claiming they'll hold off Ukrainian assaults. We can see them in the forest line, their trenches. We're working on those targets, he says. We shell them with our mortars. As Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky embarks on his visit to the U.S., both for the UN General Assembly but also to meet with President Biden and members of Congress, the Ukrainians are urging the U.S. to keep up its support, saying aside from the longer-range ATACMS tactical missiles to hit Russian supply lines, they urgently need a lot more artillery ammo as their forces are heavily outgunned even as they try to advance. Speaking to 60 Minutes, Zelensky highlighting the sacrifices Ukraine is making. We're defending the values of the whole world, he says, and the Ukrainian people are paying the highest price. We are truly fighting for our freedom. We are dying. A tough and slow grind on the ground as Kyiv's military tries to inch forward, vowing they won't stop until they've ousted the Russians from all of Ukraine's territory.
TheAdvocateChannel.com looks at the world through the lens of equality and inclusion. Subscribe, like, and share now. AC 24/7's Top Story Countdown continues with our producer's pick for number 3.
This is a national special security event. We have 170 or so protectees, foreign heads of state that are here with their spouses that we're responsible for protecting. And I think in the last 10 years, it is the largest United Nations General Assembly that we've hosted.
Kimberly Cheadle is the director of the U.S. Secret Service, the agency that protects the President of the United States, but is also responsible for protecting every world leader attending the United Nations General Assembly. The NYPD is a key partner with resources on the ground, in the sky, and on the water to protect what is annually the largest gathering of world leaders anywhere on the planet. 151 heads of state, 41 foreign ministers, that's nearly 200 security details.
Their job is to discuss the future of our world, and our job is to make sure they can do it without disruption.
At a pier in Brooklyn, 315 police cars are gathered to be deployed in the motorcades that will run through the city day and night. That means traffic closures, frozen zones, and detours in a city that's already snarled with traffic on a good day.
That's a lot of choreography. A lot of choreography, but we dance well. We have our federal partners, our intelligence bureau, constantly monitoring threats. And quite frankly, it's New York City. We're always at a threat level, one way or the other. And we're always prepared to move and to protect this city.
FDR southbound.
At the NYPD's command center, police access feeds from thousands of cameras, hundreds of license plate readers, even a map that tracks flight patterns, an early warning system in case a plane goes off course. And if there's an incident or attack...
Immediately this room, as you can see through its ability through all our cameras and all our technology, would immediately be pumping information out to our incident commanders in the field, as well as keeping the top level, the executives at NYP, informed.
Between Park and Third.
At the Secret Service, a protective intelligence cell scans all active threats, not just to the President of the United States, but against any of the world leaders under their protection in New York.
So we're looking at the technological aspect of it, we're looking at the cyber aspect of it, and then we're looking at the human threat itself.
They have planned and practiced for every scenario: chemical weapons, biological attacks, even a nuclear device coming into the harbor on a ship. This NYPD counterterrorism launch is equipped with advanced radiation detection technology.
So this vessel is part of our fleet with our maritime unit. We actually have 3 vessels. This vessel has radiation detection equipment in the bow of the vessel that will be able to detect any radiation emanating off of any objects. The strategy is to be able to detect any anomalies and to be able to address that and to check it out and see what it is and make sure everyone in the area is safe. We want to do that as far out as possible so that we can get a jump on anything and be able to clear the area, shut down the waterways, anything that we may have to do to neutralize the threat.
A critical week for borrowers. On Wednesday, the U.S. Federal Reserve is expected to announce a decision on interest rates, and several economic data point to a pause in hikes.
And the Fed, I think, here is very cognizant of the fact that it doesn't want to overdo it and tip the economy into recession.
While inflation is much lower than it was last year, it's still far higher than the Fed's 2% target. And while economists like Joe Brusuelas says there's still a lot more work ahead to lower inflation, he says the U.S. economy is strong and we may not see another interest rate hike this year. That could mean a solid break for borrowers looking to get a new credit card or a loan to make big purchases like a car or a home.
You see auto rates anywhere between 3 and 6%. The average rate on a credit card is near 24% at this point.
When it comes to homes, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 7.18% for the week ending September 14th. That's up from 6.02% a year before. But Brusuela says mortgage rate relief is on the way. The Fed indicates at or near its peak with rate hikes.
I don't think 7% is going to be the new normal going forward. And my sense is we'll see in that 4.5% to 5% rate going forward.
However, there's also the chance that more interest rate hikes could be ahead this year, which could prolong the pain for borrowers.
The difficulty always here is knowing when to stop, and monetary policy, higher interest rates, takes a while to have an effect.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Smiles, hugs and tears as 5 Americans detained inside Iran for years are finally freed and on their way home. Among them, Siamak Namazi. He was arrested in 2015 while on a business trip to Iran and charged with having relations with a hostile state. After nearly 8 years in prison, Namazi was Iran's longest-held American prisoner. Feeling abandoned by the US earlier this year, he appealed directly to President Biden in an unprecedented interview with CNN from inside the notorious Evin prison.
Honestly, the other hostages and I desperately need President Biden to finally hear us out, to finally hear our cry for help and bring us home.
Also freed, dual Iranian-American citizens Morad Tabaz and Emad Shaghi. Tabaz, an environmentalist, was arrested while on a trip to Iran in 2018. Shaghi, a businessman who moved with his wife to Iran from the US in 2017, was also detained in 2018 on similar charges to that of Namazi.
For years, their fate tied to tensions between the two countries, but with the help of a common friend in Qatar, breakthrough diplomacy brought us to this very moment.
Iran freed the dual citizens in a deal to release 5 Iranians held in US prisons and to unblock $6 billion in frozen Iranian funds from South Korea. That cash moving from Seoul to Switzerland before being transferred to Doha after the Biden administration last week issued a sanctions waiver clearing the way for the money to move. The role of Qatar now changing from mediator to guarantor, ensuring Washington's demands that Iran's billions are strictly controlled and spent only on humanitarian goods like food and medicine. But critics worry even with Doha's oversight, the monies could be spent however Tehran decides. There's also concern this latest deal enables what many critics have dubbed Tehran's hostage diplomacy. But for the freed Americans, today at least, politics will likely be a secondary concern as they finally get to go home after years of mental and physical anguish.